Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Warzone, obviously, we've got a lot of different competitive weapons. There are some that are more high risk, high reward that have a lot of recoil, but also output some serious damage. There are some lower risk, high reward weapons, and everybody sort of got their go-tos, right? But if you're just simply looking to pick up a gun and just fry straight up, you don't have to put in much work, you're just going to get an easy to use weapon, I've got you covered today. We are breaking down 5 of the lowest recoil and easiest to use guns in the Warzone meta right now. So we're actually starting first with a couple of close range based options, and recoil is not as important in some close range gunfights as it is some mid range and some long range, just because your enemies are a larger target, so it's easier to consistently land shots, but you still can make it easy on yourself, right? And the MX9 is one of the easiest guns in the game. Shout out to True Game Data, by the way, Tony. For every single gun in the game, he's got the recoil plot listed on the site. So I'll be throwing up the recoil patterns of these guns so you guys can see what they look like when you shoot standard. They do change though as you adjust them with various different attachment upgrades and tunes, but all these are going to be very predictable and very basic, making them super easy to use. And the MX9, I've said it before, I'll say it again, if it had a larger magazine, it could be a top 2, top 3 SMG in the game, because its TTK and its ease of use are up there with the best of the best. But unfortunately, we are limited to this 32 round mag here, which is not a lot of ammo outside of solo. So it's definitely a larger skill gap weapon because of that, but it's still not denying the fact that it's ridiculously easy to use. In fact, it's so easy to use that I go pretty much all in on mobility everywhere. I've got the Q900 rear grip for better ADS and sprint to fire. I've got the C11 riser for the better ADS and sprint to fire. The S901 barrel helps out with some range, so you get that better damage drop off, and then also some better movement speed, which is nice to see. Then I don't love the iron sight, so I do go for a basic blue dot. If there's a different optic you prefer more, you could always go for that. Or if you're comfortable with the irons, you know, throw in a stock, throw in a laser, whatever works well for you. But this setup is fast, and the recoil is so easy, so predictable where you're going to be using this gun. You don't really even have to focus on control for this to be the most optimal, like, low recoil build. Now, legitimately, this, at least as far as I can remember, might be the very first time we're talking about the Minibak in a meta loadout video. This thing really hasn't been anything fancy all year long, and for what it's worth, its TTK really is still not all that impressive, but we're not focused on TTK, we're focused on recoil. And when I was looking at all the data for these guns and testing stuff out, the Minibak actually stood out. This thing is a surprisingly easy weapon to use as well. It also has all the ammo in the world, so you're not going to have to do much, you're not going to have to work really at all to just spray and pray with this thing and land shots consistently. If you're hitting those upper body shots, you can actually have a good chance to take out multiple players without even having to worry about reloading, because you're going to be able to hit so many shots back to back to back to back, because this thing is just so straightforward. So because that large magazine, we're not going for an extra extended mag here or anything. We go for the true tack rear grip, better ADS and sprint to fire, pretty standard there. The Ultra's at stock, better strafe speed, better sprint speed, so again, just helping out with that mobility. Same deal with the Olay laser, the better ADS and sprint to fire. Then I do go for the 279 barrel. This helps out a little bit with that initial damage range. This one does have some steep drop off, so that just helps out there. And because it does hurt the ADS, everything else sort of counters that, so you're not really losing any mobility. Then also the KT85 does help out with some control. I figured, hey, why not? We could throw this on there. If you wanted to, you could also throw something on there like the spiral flash hider that helps out a little bit with control. There's definitely some good compensators here that you can use though, depending on, you know, how exactly you want the weapon to feel. If you want a little more control for a slightly slower ADS, a little less control for a bit of a faster ADS, regardless of what you're choosing here, this weapon is going to be incredibly easy to use. And hey, maybe this video gives you a reason to finally use the Minibak, because you probably weren't using it before. Now, as we get into the other 3 remaining loadouts here, quick reminder, if you guys are new here, every day I got you covered with everything going on in COD, including meta breakdowns, news, the latest patch notes whenever they drop. Like I said, everything going on, you'll find it here. So be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. And if you guys enjoy the video, if you find this information useful or you're using the screenshots to help you build, do me a favor, drop a like. It would be really appreciated, as it does really help grow the channel. Also, I don't plug it all that much, but if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, you should follow me over there. It's just at Who's Immortal. I'm always talking the latest COD news there, sometimes posting loadouts and other meta information. So if you're interested, drop me a follow. Anyway, next up, we're going to be focusing on some long range for the rest of the video, or some mid and some long range. And the Lachmann 5, 5, 6, despite the fact that it's not hitting like it was, you know, back in season 3, season 4, it's still one of the easiest weapons to use in the game, maybe the single easiest weapon to use in the game, in all honesty. Again, a very predictable recoil pattern, and with the setup here, we do optimize it a bit more for control as well. So initially here, I'm going for the 60 round extended mag. You're going to want that for any squad fights, obviously. I like the AIM-OP V4. It's low visual recoil as well, but if there is an optic that you're more comfortable with, as always, feel free to go ahead and run that. I go for the Ripper underbarrel here. It helps out with that stabilization and stability, obviously, so that's going to make this recoil pattern more predictable because there's going to be less sway over distance, which really enhances the efficiency of the gun. I go for the Echoless Eddy suppressor. This weapon is so easy that you don't need a heavy suppressor. If you wanted to upgrade to, you know, Harbinger for a slower ADS but some added control on there, you could do so, but I don't feel like it's totally necessary. The lowest recoil build would probably have this on there though. Then I also go for the Rat Barrel. This does help out a little bit with control, range, velo, just nice and you know, standard there for any mid to long range gun. It's gonna optimize it even more there, and also make this an even lower recoil build if that's even possible, because this thing is already so straightforward as is. One that really anyone can pick up, and you're gonna be able to hit shots consistently at 40 meters, 60 meters, 80 meters, 100 meters, it'll work. Now, the Sakin MG38, this one, unlike some of these other options on the list, is not so low recoil and decent damage. It's actually low recoil and very good damage. This one is one of the more rewarding weapons on the list here today. It's still, again, so easy to use. The pattern is very predictable, especially once you kit it out like we've got it here, and its realistic TTK is pretty much the best over long range that we're talking about here today. This thing actually has some really good power behind it, which you don't oftentimes get with weapons that are this straightforward, which is a nice sort of breath of fresh air, if you will. So obviously it's an LMG. We don't need any magazine upgrades there. I again am using AIM-OP V4, pretty standard. The Stib 40 rear grip based straight up on a recoil control, so this is going to make that pattern even more predictable. I go for the Edge 47 underbarrel, which is one of the lighter underbarrels based on stability here, so it's going to have a faster ADS than something like Ripper. Ripper would offer more stabilization though, so you could trade those out if you you know, care about that. That's just more so up to how you want the weapon to feel. Kind of the same deal with the suppressor here. Polar Fire S, a lighter suppressor, so no control on this. If you wanted to upgrade to Talon, your ADS will be even slower, but you'll get some added control on this. So I personally find this weapon so easy to use as is. I don't need the heavier options here. You could absolutely upgrade them if you wanted to, or upgrade to them rather if you wanted to. We also have the Silver Series barrel on here, and it's that Papa John's specialty. Better control, better velocity, better damage range, better pizza. Again, just optimizing the mid to long range efficiency on this thing. Obviously, it's slow, it's heavy, it's an LMG, but you raise your sights, you start shooting, you have to do very little, and you can gain a whole lot by laying a mag into, you know, a squad. You could wipe them without having to reload because it's just that easy. And lastly here, I've got one of the most underrated weapons in the game, the Kastov 545. Again, ridiculously easy to use, and for the rifle category, it's actually one of the more competitive ones because all the rifles right now are pretty much mediocre in general when it comes to their time to kill over range. Really, battle rifles, marksman rifles, LMGs are thriving in long range right now. Rifles are just kind of but you have some good choices, and the 545 is one of them. Like I said, very standard recoil pattern here, so you're going to be able to land shots consistently. In fact, I actually don't even opt for an underbarrel in this case, at least for my level of comfortability with this gun. Now that said, you absolutely could, if you wanted to swap out high velocity or the K30 barrel for Ripper underbarrel, you could definitely do so. But for me, I like the feeling of high velo. I feel like I'm a bit more accurate with this one. I don't have to bullet lead as much. And for the K30 barrel, it's again that 3-in-1 combo of control, velocity, and range. So you're still getting some solid benefits for long range fights out of that, but that again is up to how you want the weapon to feel. 45 round mag, you could also go up to 60 if you wanted to, totally preference based. AIM-OP V4, and then because I don't use an underbarrel here, I do go for a heavier suppressor in Harbinger D20, so better velocity, better range, and this will give you a little bit of added control as well. So very straightforward gun, just like the rest of the ones on the list here today. A little bit more aggressive because it is a rifle, obviously, but really with any of the options that we have here that we just discussed, you can pick them up. Even if you don't have the correct build on there 100% of the time, they're so straightforward, and the entry barrier there is so simple that you can just fry right away, which you really love to see. So regardless of skill level, these guns are going to work for you. With all that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee you're always up to date with everything going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.